Welcome to Audiobook 365 Stories.
There were 6 girls together, all very pretty and wearing their first long dresses. The oldest girl was not quite 16. They had gathered on the Saturday before Valentine's Day, about 5 to 10 years ago. Now, 2 of them are teachers, 2 are married. One is taking care of her brother's orphan children, and the 6th has passed away. But on that February day, they were just enjoying each other's company and having fun. 2 of the girls were sisters and lived in the same house, while the others had come to visit them. They were all making valentines together, some silly, some sweet, and some with a bit of humor. After a hearty lunch, they returned to their room to continue their valentine making. Bertha, one of the girls, asked Nellie what she was thinking about. "I was thinking about these valentines," Nellie replied slowly. "Well, they shouldn't make you sad. They're silly," said Bertha. "Yes, but because they're so silly, they made me think. I was wondering why we couldn't write something to help someone or make them feel good," Nellie explained. "Nellie's being very serious," teased Kate Green. "Miss Hunt, the moral teacher." Nellie blushed but remained earnest. "You can laugh if you want, but I mean what I say. I'm going to write a valentine to a boy, like how I think a girl should write, and I'll send it." "So you should," Bertha said kindly. "We'll go visit our mom and the baby while you write it. Call us when you're done." "Yes, and you have to show it to us," shouted Kate Green as she left. "It's only fair. We promised this morning to show each other all we sent, and we won't let you off." And then the 5 girls scattered away like a group of birds, leaving Nellie alone. Her job was harder than she thought. Maybe it's only older people who are naturally wise. Anyway, giving good advice wasn't easy for Nellie. But she had an idea of what she wanted to say, and eventually, she got it down. She wrote and rewrote it, and finally decided she couldn't do any better. Then she copied it neatly before calling the others. It was a bit stiff and preachy, but it sounded like a big effort and a success to the listening girls. Here's what it said. "My Valentine, you'll get plenty of compliments and maybe jokes and fun from others, so I won't give you those. Instead, I'm only interested in one thing, that you become the best boy and man you can be. If you're selfish, lazy, or mean, you'll never be happy until you've fallen so low that you can't tell right from wrong. But if you try to be a gentleman, honest, and hardworking, you'll do good things, live a happy life, and earn the respect of your Valentine." Nellie read it with a blush and a slight quiver in her mouth, which Bertha understood. But she read it with a firm voice and careful tone. "Then," she said when she finished, "I'll burn all my other valentines and send only this one. It's what I really mean, and as old Auntie Smoke says, if it doesn't do any good, it can't do any harm." "Who will you send it to?" Bertha asked gently, a little subdued by Nellie's writing success. "I haven't decided," Nellie replied thoughtfully. "They all need it." "Oh, send it to Joe, my cousin Joe," exclaimed Kitty Green. "He's staying with us, and he needs it badly enough. If any boy is full of his pranks, it's Joe, and if any boy has tormented a girl's life, it's mine." A bright blush glowed on Nellie Hunt's cheeks. Had she been thinking of dark-eyed Joe all along? She simply answered quietly, "I don't mind. I'll send it to Joe, but only if you promise, on your honor, never to tell him who wrote it." "Oh, I promise. I swear I won't tell him, no matter what," Kitty exclaimed. "And will all of you promise too?" Nellie asked, blushing even more. And they all agreed, finding it easy to trust Nellie's sincere nature. So Nellie neatly addressed the valentine to Mr. Joe Green and dropped it into the mailbox along with the other valentines they had written that day. On the 15th, the 6 girls gathered at school, sharing their valentines and secrets. Kitty Green pulled Nellie aside while they walked together in the hall, arms around each other like good friends do. "I saw Joe get your valentine, Nellie," Kitty whispered excitedly. Nellie blushed and her eyes sparkled, but she didn't ask any questions. Kitty was eager to tell her story. "He got it, along with a few others, and he read them all before he got to yours. I could tell by the shape of the envelope. He read your valentine twice. I heard him say to himself, 'That's an honest letter from some little saint.' Then he showed it to me and asked if I recognized the handwriting. I pretended it was Sue's, his sister. So he didn't know it was from you and put it in his pocket. He said it was something he wouldn't show anyone. Your letter really made an impression, Nellie." Kitty finished with a hug, a kiss, and a look of admiration for her friend. When spring came, Joe Green left Chester and didn't return. Nellie couldn't forget about him because of the valentine. As she got older, she felt embarrassed about how bold she had been. She wondered if Joe laughed at her letter. But thankfully, he didn't know it was from her, so she felt better. Nellie was 20 when Joe returned to Chester, this time as a doctor. He became famous for treating everyone, especially the poor. People praised him a lot, saying he was the best doctor ever. Nellie, now called Miss Hunt, had become even kinder after her sister Bertha passed away. One summer day, she found her old nurse very sick and wrote a note asking Dr. Green to come quickly. Then she asked a passerby to give it to the doctor. In less than half an hour, Dr. Green arrived quietly and seriously. He took care of the sick woman with kindness, making everyone admire him. Then he turned to Nellie. "Who will stay with her tonight?" he asked. "She shouldn't be alone." "I will," Nellie replied quietly. "Then come to the door with me, please, and I'll tell you what to do." Nellie followed him and stood there in the soft evening light. She listened carefully to his instructions. As she turned to leave, he reached out to stop her. "I owe you a lot," he said. "How?" Nellie asked, blushing deeply. He looked at her with a smile in his eyes. He took out a red leather case and showed her the old valentine she had written. Then he showed her the note she had written that afternoon. "I didn't think you kept that silly thing," Nellie said, feeling ashamed. He looked at her for a moment. She was a lovely girl, and he felt grateful for her help. "Do you regret helping me be a better person?" he asked slowly. "Your words meant a lot to me. I've kept this Valentine and tried to live by its message. I've tried to be kind, brave, and strong." "Are you sorry you wrote it?" "No, I'm not sorry," Nellie replied. "But it was just a girl's idea. I don't deserve so much praise." "It was a good idea," he said seriously. "Let's be glad it worked." Nellie returned to the old woman's bedside, feeling excited. It was strange to think the old woman had once been young, too. Had anyone ever looked at her the way Dr. Joe looked at her? The next morning, Dr. Joe came again. His medicine, a good night's sleep, and Nellie's care seemed to have made the old patient feel much better. Nellie didn't need to stay with her anymore, but she visited her every day. It was interesting how often Dr. Joe visited at the same time. One evening, the doctor didn't bring his horse, so he and Nellie walked together. They talked about the beautiful sunset, the gentle breeze, and even the old woman. Nellie tried hard to stop Dr. Joe from saying what she really wanted to hear. But finally he said it, awkwardly but honestly. "I've spent all these years trying to earn your respect, but now I realize I want more than that. I want your love." I think Nellie's answer made him happy because she is now Mrs. Joseph Green. And that old Valentine, though worn, is proudly displayed on the doctor's study table.